Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Greene. You're watching AMTV, Alternative Media Television Live. Of course, it is Monday, October 17th, 2016. Julian Assange Internet shutdown and possible suicide or suicided. As mysteriously, many of these figures just wind up dead that have the dirt on Hillary, rotten, criminal, Benghazi Gate Clinton. Clinton body count, you search it on Google, although they censor it, just the body bags just keep piling up. One of our producers even said, what was it, Scott Baio said something along those lines not too long ago, just said, yeah, I wouldn't want to speak out against the Clintons because I might wind up dead. So over the weekend, a series of cryptic tweets are put out by WikiLeaks, and some assume that maybe something, and I would suggest rightfully so, because we know WikiLeaks has very damning and damaging information coming out on Hillary Clinton and her campaign as we build up to this historical election, unlike anything that we have ever seen in the history of not just America and the world. So we know that Julian Assange has the goods, so there would be motive to take him out. A lot of people jumping to conclusions. Is he dead? Again, a series of cryptic tweets are put out to the general public from the WikiLeaks Twitter account. And this kind of snowballs into speculation and conspiracy. Our sources tell us that Julian Assange is still alive. However, his internet has been shut down, according to the mainstream bullshit media, by a state party like Hillary Clinton, for example, pretty much runs the country already. I mean, she's not even president of the United States, and she has far more power than any other single individual in the world, arguably. WikiLeaks says Assange's internet link was severed by a state party, which would mean like a country or Hillary Clinton that just doesn't want damaging information leaked out on her campaign weeks. Just a few short weeks as we approach November 8th and the election of our lifetimes. WikiLeaks said Monday that its founder Julian Assange's internet link was severed by a state party and that appropriate contingency plans had been activated. Julian Assange internet link has been intentionally severed by a state party. We have activated the appropriate contingency plans. And then what many had speculated could be, in fact, the dead man's switch that many of you are familiar with. If anything happens to Julian Assange, it doesn't matter, because the truth will still be leaked out via an algorithm and the infrastructure set up by WikiLeaks. So it doesn't matter if he's dead or alive. But this is what made a lot of people nervous over the weekend, as a series of tweets came out right around the time there was an internet shutdown by a state party and a visit by Pamela Anderson. I'll get to that in a minute. Very, very strange, by the way. A series of tweets that came out, pre-commitment 1, John Kerry, with like a string of characters. Pre-commitment 2, Ecuador, with a string of characters. Pre-commitment 3, with the string of characters. People are like, what is this? Is this the dead man's switch? Now, Gizmodo noted that the 64-character code sparked a whirlwind of rumors that the 45-year-old Assange had died. Rumors on Reddit and Twitter said the numbers triggered a so-called dead man's switch, which could be enacted in case Assange did die. Gizmodo reported that such switches do exist. Now, WikiLeaks hasn't tweeted anything else about Assange's internet access or how it may have been severed. At this point, we could only think, which I think there's probably more than likely some truth to this, that the state actor that they're talking about is either Hillary Clinton and her campaign that doesn't want subsequent damaging information to be leaked on her. I mean, we saw what Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, the Truth Teller organization, did to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and only prove that the Democratic Party is rigged. We can only imagine what he has up his sleeve now. And of course, as I've said many times before, thank you for tuning in on YouTube, FaceCrook, and also our on-demand subscribers. You get all of our content completely ad and commercial-free, uncensored, the price of a cup of coffee, $4.95 a month. Click the Start Your Free Trial button below if you haven't already. This wouldn't be surprising because, again, we know that timing is everything. And Julian Assange has more, as he's told us and made us all aware, more damaging information on Clinton and her campaign that will make the previous leaks pale in comparison. So what better way to shut him up than to shut down his internet? But as we just reported, contingency plans have been put in place. Let's go to a brief clip. This is when this was breaking. This was the information put out by RT on this quote-unquote internet shutdown. Let's go to that now.
The WikiLeaks chief, Julian Assange, has been severed from his key lifeline of the internet in what is being called an intentional state act. That is according to a post on the organization's official Twitter page. The web is one of the links Assange has to the wider world, considering he's been holed up inside the Ecuadorian embassy in London for more than 4 years. Let's cross live now to RT's Polly Boyker for more details on this story here. Polly, good to see you today. An unexpected development considering how long he's been stuck inside the embassy. What more do we know?
Yeah, that's right. Julian Assange's internet is down, and considering he has been stuck inside this building for over 4 years now, you can understand that the internet for him, it's not just very important for his work as editor of WikiLeaks, it's also a vital lifeline, his only link really to the outside world. But a few hours ago, the official WikiLeaks Twitter account wrote a message saying that Julian Assange's internet link has been intentionally severed by what they said was a state party. And they also said, we have activated appropriate contingency plans. Now, RT have got in touch with the Ecuadorian embassy to find out whether this is an ongoing issue. They haven't yet responded to us. So the details of how the internet went down and whether or not it was in fact the work of a state player, they are still unclear. But if it is indeed a state party, then well, there's a pretty big pool of potential candidates to choose from, considering how many uncomfortable truths WikiLeaks as an organization have.
Okay, so we had confirmation there, as reported by RT, this was as it was happening, that there was an internet shutdown. What better way to shut up Julian Assange in WikiLeaks but just to essentially shut down his connectivity? Something that I surmise, I've been preaching to the choir here for years, your state government will do to you, the little guy, at some point in the future, which seems to be more commonplace, and I would suggest would be and will be very commonplace under the potential presidency of Hillary Clinton. I mean, can you imagine what this woman is going to do to things like the Constitution and freedom of speech in the Second Amendment if she so in fact is selected, not elected, but selected the next commander-in-chief to continue the third term of the Manchurian candidate that makes up Barack Obama. Now, a few comments on this dead man switch and this internet shutdown. This was from Joshua Plowman. He says, this is bullcrap. We will get the information somehow. We all know that Hillary Clinton is behind this, that Obama and our government is committing high treason again and using their power, money, and connections against international law and constitutional law to attack Assange. Well said, Joshua. Well said. You see, this is a world where the Ministry of Truth, CNN, the Clinton News Network, just tells you what to believe. I mean, this is George Orwell's worst nightmare. This is 1984. Over the weekend, CNN came out and falsely stated that it is unlawful. Seriously, I'm not making this up. Unlawful for the public, you, investigative journalists like myself, but not for CNN, to search WikiLeaks Podesta emails, the truth about what's coming out on Hillary Clinton's rotten campaign. Again, this is kind of like war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. I mean, the Clinton News Network really is George Orwell's worst nightmare, the quote-unquote Ministry of Truth. Let's go to that brief clip.
Also interesting is, remember, it's illegal to possess these stolen documents. It's different for the media. So everything you learn about this, you're learning from us. And in full disclosure, let's take a look at what is in there and what it means. Joining us now, CNN's. Also interesting is, remember, it's illegal to possess these stolen documents. It's different for the media. So everything you learn about this, you're learning from.
Anyways, guys, so the proof is in the pudding. I mean, this is on the heels of Google launching a new fact check label. You know, Hillary at the debate, she was like, oh, you can fact check. No, it's fact check, Donald Trump, Hillary. I'm sorry, fact check, not fat check. Google launches a new fact check label for all news. so that if it doesn't have the Google stamp of approval, I hope we don't get the stamp. In fact, Google, if you stamped AMTV with a fact check label, that would only discredit what we're doing here, because it only proves, and this kind of fact checking and censorship only proves what a monster the totalitarian tech class has become. One of the reasons why Silicon Valley is in totality behind Hillary Clinton and not behind the anti-establishment, politically incorrect, deplorable figure that makes up Donald Trump. Google News launches fact check label. Google has launched a new feature, fact check, not fact check Hillary, fact check, which will add a label next to news stories and search results. Oh, that's so convenient. Thank you, Google. You'll tell me what to believe, just like the Clinton News Network. Fact check will appear with other news organizations in Google News, and will, Google says, shine a light, more like darkness and hell, on its efforts to divide fact from fiction. Because you see, folks, the truth, well, it's just staring all of us in the face. Like, for example, we know the truth about Hillary Clinton through the WikiLeaks dump, through the Podesta emails, through the research and reports, organizations like ours, your organization here at AMTV Alternative Media Television puts out to the public, and others like ours. It's been so darn effective. And the Clinton News Network is losing so bad that they've had to intertwine themselves with big tech with this new fact check label to try to discredit the truth. But again, as I've said this time and time again, I mean, the truth will set you free, right? The truth speaks for itself. It doesn't need a fact check label courtesy of Google. And I've opined on this for quite a while, folks. I've complained about this for quite a while, how the tech class is working strategically against the truth and real organizations like ours. So Google, we don't need a fact check label from you. In fact, if you give it to us, it would only discredit what we're trying to do here, because we understand that you're the new ministry of truth, that you're George Orwell's worst nightmare. Now, I mentioned early on in this broadcast that Pamela Anderson strangely reveals and visits Assange at the embassy, who hasn't seen sunlight or daylight for like 4 years. I mean, I just want you to try to understand what that might be like. It must be like, I mean, this is torture. The poor guy hasn't seen the sun for 4 years. I mean, can we please give this guy like a vitamin D pill or something? He's pale as can be. Even Pamela Anderson is worried about his health. Now, this is where, and I think rightfully so, there was a conspiracy angle here. It's like, first of all, and none of this makes sense to me when I first saw this, I'm like, how the hell is Pamela Anderson paying this guy? Is this like a sexual visit or something? Like, what is this woman doing with Julian Assange in London at the Ecuadorian embassy when the Clinton campaign, for example, has probably got a hit on the guy? How does she get in and the Clintons can't get into her, get into the embassy themselves? Now, there was a story that broke just a couple of weeks ago. That's why everyone's on high alert, and it's really not a conspiracy. These are genuine concerns and fears where someone was scaling the wall of the embassy where Julian Assange is staying, and, it took several hours for there to be a deployment of, police and resources to go check this out, because, again, he doesn't really have that much protection, because we could argue that the state and the Clintons more than likely have a hit on the poor guy than anything else. I mean, at the very least, they want to shut him down, turn off his internet so he can't continue to leak damaging information. So here we have Pamela Anderson, who we all recognize from Baywatch with her big, beautiful you-know-whats, meeting with Julian Assange. And then the article goes on, this is from the mainstream news, there's like, oh yeah, she showed up, I'm paraphrasing a bit, she thought Julian Assange was just fantastic, and she gave him a vegan meal. Like, she went to the store and tortured him, this is what Julian Assange said, essentially, by giving him like a couple vegan appetizers. And people are like, well, how is she getting into the embassy? Why is she feeding this poor guy? And by chance, she poisoned him. It's an interesting thought, and I think a valid question. Pamela Anderson has revealed her fears over Julian Assange's health after giving him food, after visiting him at the Ecuadorian embassy. The former Playboy model said the WikiLeaks founder was doing really well, but expressed concern for him and his family. Oh, isn't that nice? And then you bring him food, and hopefully you didn't poison him. The Australian has been living in the embassy, referring to Assange, for over 4 years and has been granted political asylum by Ecuador. Now, of course, there's these phony charges out on Assange for like sexual assault. I mean, they always spin the narrative that way. It's like, oh, he sexually assaulted, so he's totally discredited, even though he puts out the truth. Assange not only fears for his life, but that he'd be extradited if he were to face those erroneous bullshit charges back to the United States. Those are his very valid fears. So here we have a former Playboy model visiting Assange and treating him to a nice vegan meal. And people are wondering if he was so, in fact, poisoned. And this is, I think, a valid question, and it's swirling around the internet, especially with these cryptic tweets coming out and the quote-unquote dead man switch. This is a follow-up article to that from Mashable. It says, Julian Assange is at the center of some online conspiracy theories, all because of Pamela Anderson and a vegan meal. Yep, you read it right. It all started with Anderson's surprise visit to the WikiLeaks founder, like how she got there, it makes no sense, who is still living in the London, Ecuador embassy to avoid extradition to Sweden. She told the press association that she brought him a nice vegan lunch and some vegan snacks. Oh, isn't that cute? And expressed concerns for his health. It was kind of like when Hillary Clinton said, they asked her the question at the second debate, like, what do you admire about Trump? Like, can you say one positive thing about him? And she kind of acted in Don Corleone fashion. She's like, oh, I really think he's got a good family. It was like a veiled threat. A veiled threat or something like that. I mean, this is just crazy talk. And it's absolutely insane. I asked the question, I'd actually like to hear answers from you. How does Pamela Anderson get close to this guy? Former Baywatch babe get close to Julian Assange, but nobody else can. And then she feeds him this dainty lunch and then comes out to the press and says she's worried about his health. It makes absolutely no sense. We got to go to a quick commercial break. Please support our sponsor, Swiss America. Download their free 12-page executive summary, Money, Morality, and the Machine. Get it right now. It's free. I'm talking about gold and silver, using these things as a diversification tool for years now. Again, it's a free report. All you have to do is click the link below. Visit SwissAmerica.com. I'll be right back after these brief messages. Stay tuned. Get our new 12-page executive summary from our partner, Swiss America, today. Click the link below. Again, get a free report on money, morality, and the machine. Has the American empire gone the way of Rome? All this easy, funny money, credit, quantitative easing into infinity, 0% interest rates. Is there any morality to the money system today? Again, click the link below right now from our partner Swiss America. Download Money, Morality, and the Machine, 12-page executive summary on Smith's Law in an Unethical, Overgoverned Age by Craig R. Smith. Click the link below right now or give them a call at 1-800-289-2646. That's 1-800-289-2646. Act now. So we have to understand that Donald J. Trump is seriously disadvantaged when compared to the Hillary machine that makes up, just one example, her financing arm. Now keep in mind that 99.9% of Silicon Valley is behind Hillary Clinton. This makes up people like Tim Cook over at Apple and pretty much everybody else outside of Peter Thiel, who's donated, and really this pales in comparison to the donations that Hillary Clinton is receiving and the money she's campaigning with and spending on anti-Donald Trump attack ads and all these kinds of things. I mean, she has over double the financing I've read compared to what Donald Trump has in his measly budget compared to her. Peter Thiel, and this is very interesting, also a Bilderberg attendee, and a Bilderberger donates about $1.25 million in support of Donald Trump. He's pretty much the only and singular outspoken individual from Silicon Valley. Most of you know who Peter is. He, of course, was one of the founders of PayPal and the PayPal Mafia. He's a billionaire. I think he's worth, some $3+ billion or something in that ballpark. He also owns a very interesting company that works with the Central Intelligence Agency, conveniently, named Palantir, that basically studies patterns and algorithms and works with state actors and players and these kinds of things. Here we have the only supporter of Donald Trump from Silicon Valley donating, which is great to see a donation here, but it's interesting, his connections with the Bilderbergs, etc. A measly $1.25 million. in support of Donald Trump. And I have to ask the question here, what are the intentions? Is Peter Thiel, somebody who, by the way, also sued Gawker with Mr. Hulk Hogan, WWE, and successfully brought down a multi-hundred-million-dollar news organization? I mean, he's not necessarily a champion of free press, is he? If he would fund these types of lawsuits and campaigns that had outed him too early when he didn't want to let the world know that he was gay yet, even though it was true, so he brought down an entire media organization. Again, I have to ask these questions. He's the singular donor to the Donald Trump campaign. He really doesn't donate that much, considering he's worth billions of dollars. I mean, $1 million is nothing to these guys. They would wipe their ass with $10 million. I mean, it's a measly sum. Why is he the only Silicon Valley entrepreneur and insider supposedly loyal to Donald Trump? And could this potentially be an illusion? Like, did they get together at the Bilderberg meeting and they're like, we got to at least have one of us, all the Silicon Valley guys there, like one of us side with Donald Trump? Like, we know 99.9%, are not on his team. They're all pro Hillary Clinton and immigration and destroy our borders and, George Soros agenda and Black Lives Matter and all these kinds of things. We've got to get at least one guy, to kind of integrate himself so it appears that there's like some support, even though there really isn't. I just kind of find it fishy. I'm just being frankly honest with you here, because I don't view Thiel, although I think he's a very interesting figure, quite the intellectual, and I've studied a lot of his work. I mean, very, very interesting and a smart guy. But, connected with the Bilderbergs, the CFR, he's in this world, yet he's supposedly on Donald Trump's side. It doesn't make a lot of sense, and he's also not a champion of free speech at all. Out of San Francisco, Peter Thiel, true to his reputation as the most contrarian soul in Silicon Valley, is doubling down on Donald J. Trump, the only prominent supporter of the Republican candidate in the high-tech community. Mr. Thiel is making his first donation in support of Mr. Trump's election. He will give $1.25 million through a combination of super PAC donations and funds given directly to the campaign, a person close to the investor said on Saturday. The donation puts the billionaire investor high on a very short list of big Trump contributors. One of the biggest donors, of course, is Robert Mercer of the hedge fund Renaissance Technologies. He and his daughter Rebecca have given $15.5 million in support of the Republican candidate's election, according to the Center for Responsive Politics. So I would kind of say here, Peter, put your money where your freaking mouth is. $1 million is nothing compared to the funding that Hillary Rotten Clinton is getting from the entire Silicon Valley establishment community. And probably anyone else that is actually for Donald Trump is just afraid to speak out, because it's kind of the new black, right? You're a deplorable in this country, according to Hillary Clinton. So if you're pro-Donald Trump, they position you in the light, oh, you're a racist, you're a misogynist, you're a xenophobe, you're all these things, even though you're not. It's all coming from the mouthpiece that is the Clinton News Network, the new Ministry of Truth and the Google fact check label. All this is thought control. All of this is propaganda. And I pulled a report just as a reminder here. This was courtesy of Russia Today as well. It said Bilderberg 2016, libertarianism, Peter says, not synonymous with radical transparency. Again, I'm not necessarily here to diss Peter. I'm just saying he raises questionable eyebrows here. Is this guy who he says he is? He's really not a champion of free speech at all. He just took down Gawker. I mean, literally destroyed the company because they put out truth that he was gay. But he just wasn't ready for that truth to be out to the world, so he completely shut them down and funded Hulk Hogan's entire lawsuit. Hulk Hogan thanks you very much, Peter. So I think we got to raise a few eyebrows there and questions. And the proof is in the pudding, folks. Another article I pulled from the New York Times titled "The Specter of Trump Loosens Tongues, If Not Purse Strings in Silicon Valley." I suggest you read it. It will only explain in further detail how rigged Silicon Valley truly is on the Hillary Clinton train and not on Trump's bandwagon at all. This is a very, very dangerous time in this election, and Trump and or Assange and or Breitbart and or conservative, independent, alternative media, and you tuning in, we need to do something, folks. This is absolutely red alert. A dangerous time in American history and in American politics, where we're at a critical juncture, where Trump tweeted about this over the week and said, isn't it unbelievable and I'm paraphrasing a bit, that the Clinton News Network, the Ministry of Truth, George Orwell's worst nightmare, his book 1984, puts out total BS and lies. These women that are accusing him of groping, like what constitutes, and it's been refuted, they're just total bold-faced lies put out by the Ministry of Truth propaganda machine that makes up the Clinton News Network. And he's like, what's amazing about it, it's actually been very, very damaging to my polling numbers. It's, in actuality, really hurting him because the mainstream media controls the narrative. And as I've been putting out to the public sphere for years now, Trump, and keep this in perspective, is a billionaire. And he is still seriously disadvantaged to this multi-trillion-dollar machine that makes up the New World Order and this elite power structure that is this system that is pushing globalism and the destruction of our borders in a no-fly zone in Syria and World War. Donald Trump is a billionaire, and he is still significantly marginalized and disadvantaged comparatively to Hillary Clinton and her tremendous New World Order backing. So I plead with you tuning in to continue to get the truth out. We need your help. I need you to share not just this video, but every video that we put out. And every organization like ours that is pushing truth, share it everywhere. Make your voice heard. Because if we don't do something soon to diminish the damage that has been done, courtesy of Hillary Clinton, in just recent days, I fear this election will not be turned around. Donald Trump is already ringing the alarm bell, and the sirens are blaring. He's telling you straight to all of your faces that this election is rigged, and that these false accusations are total and utter baloney to take the eye off the ball of Bill and all of his, sexual liaisons and alleged rape and sexual assault and all these things. They want to make the waters murky on both sides. So it's like, both of these guys are, D-wads and, are predators, blah, blah, blah. They want to create the water and make it just so darn murky because they've studied all this and, the trends and all these things and how it affects polling numbers. It's effective. And Donald Trump said so himself. He's surprised how effective the hit job and the hit piece has actually been. Very, very critical moment. According to Politico, and this just goes to show you how damaging this has been, 41% of voters say election could be stolen from Donald Trump. The American electorate has turned deeply skeptical about the integrity of the nation's election apparatus, with 41% of voters saying November's election could be stolen from Donald Trump due to widespread voter fraud. The new Politico Morning Consult poll conducted among roughly 2,000 registered voters October 13th through October 15th shows that Trump's repeated warnings about a rigged election are having an effect. Get this, 73% of Republicans think the election could be swiped from him. 73 freaking percent think the election's rigged. Just 17% of those consuming the propaganda that makes up the Clinton News Network and the Ministry of Truth, Democrats, agree with the prospect of massive fraud at the ballot box. I was speaking of this earlier. I mean, this isn't new news. The election process is rigged and the Electoral College is, rigged against the popular vote. And the GOP, for example, is rigged against Donald Trump. I mean, they don't even back him, for God's sakes. It's right in your face. I mean, the Bushes, for crying out loud, are voting for Hillary Clinton. I mean, it's right there for the public to see how rigged it actually is. But here we see with these stunning numbers and these stunning polls, 73% of Republicans think this thing will be stolen from Donald Trump. That is absolutely unheard of, folks. And I want to stress the point today, in addition to obviously speaking very intently on Julian Assange and the risk to his health and well-being and all these things, is he sits on a massive dump of even more emails. I mean, we have barely gotten the dump thus far. And again, they have a system in place, a dead man switch, a cryptic ways, through the algorithm that is WikiLeaks and this amazing organization that gets out truth to the American public, even if he does go missing or is potentially suicided. We've just never been here before in American history, folks. I'm going to get into some new details on Hillary's health that is completely, by the way, bypassed the mainstream media. You're not even hearing a peep out of the MSM on this. More damaging information on Hillary's heart condition, something we surmise that in addition, it was either, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, some kind of disorder along those lines, or could be in combination thereof, some kind of cardiac issue, a leaky heart valve, arrhythmia, irregular heartbeat, high blood pressure, all these things. Well, guess what? In the recent leaks that came out, courtesy of Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, who many feared had wound up dead over the weekend and a series of cryptic tweets were released, have released even more damaging information on Hillary's health and more details that nobody is talking about but us. I'll be talking about this at the break. When we get back, we've got to go to a quick break. Please support our sponsor, safeandvaultstore.com. I've got a special link in the box below. Get any safe in stock 10% off. Enter promo code AMTV10. Why? Because Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton want your guns. So protect your guns with the Safe and Vault store. Again, enter promo code and click the link below, AMTV10. Get 10% off any safe, gun safe in stock for a limited time. We'll be right back.
And in the media.
Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton want your guns. So protect your guns with the safeandvaultstore.com. That's the safeandvaultstore.com. Click the link below right now. We got a special promo for AMTV customers exclusively. Get 10% off in stock gun safes. And with your purchase, get either 10% off or a free light kit. Enter promo code AMTV10 for 10% off. That's AMTV10. Or free kit to get a free lighting kit. Enter promo code LIGHTME. Promo code LIGHTME. Again, that's a safeandvaultstore.com. Special link for AMTV customers exclusively. Click the link below right now. They want your guns. So protect your guns with the safe. So folks, this is from the Washington Times titled Guarding Hillary's Health. And again, it's like the mainstream media is just bypassing all of this. It's not even relevant, according to CNN, the Clinton News Network, the Ministry of Truth, and the fact check label that makes up Google's news system to discredit the truth. Among all the recent WikiLeaks email dumps, perhaps the most important one of them has been overlooked completely by the mainstream media. In it, Neera Tanden, Hillary Clinton's longtime political guru, warned campaign manager John Podesta of the Podesta email dump not to raise the question of primary opponent Bernie Sanders' health. Why? Because it would shine a light on Hillary's own grotesque problems. Now, we all remember the vivid imagery and recent collapse of Hillary Clinton, where, again, she barrels over into a van and is quite literally wheelbarrowed and thrown into it, which also is equipped with a bed, by the way. That also came out with the WikiLeaks data dump. So now she's miraculously okay. I mean, she was at the debate. I think they had her on drugs. Trump is probably right on this. They injected her with something, or she's on some kind of pills, because she had all this energy at the debate, and then she pretty much just dies right after it. She can barely walk up steps without help. So the mainstream media continues to avoid the elephant in the room. Notice how they've completely moved past it. Now it's all about Trump and his alleged groping, which is total BS and total baloney, and has been refuted by eyewitnesses. One of the gentlemen that I read was on the plane with Trump, where one of the ladies, I'm not even going to say her name because she's only discrediting herself, who says Trump groped her. He said that the alternate reality was true, that it was actually her that was all over him. And this is just a fabricated lie. I mean, the armrests don't raise in the plane that they were in first class. So it's total and utter baloney. It's not even worth spending time on it. But here the mainstream media goes again, completely avoiding the truth. Sources close to Hillary, get this, tell me that her doctors have discovered she suffers from arrhythmia, which some of you've probably heard of before. It's an abnormal heartbeat. And in addition to that, a leaking heart valve. They have recommended that she consider having valve replacement surgery. But Hillary has refused because she does not want to risk the negative political fallout from stories about such a serious operation. You see, Hillary is so committed to becoming the next commander in chief, she would rather die than undergo surgery and have to bear the consequence of the political fallout of the very real reality that her health is absolutely failing her. Not just hers, but also her husband's, who is very, very weak and doesn't look good, by the way. And I don't wish, again, anyone ill health or anything like this, but just Your eyes don't lie. Okay, folks? This is what I originally said when they called it a conspiracy theory about Hillary Clinton's health before her seizures and ongoing events, and before she fell into a van and collapsed and her ankles and legs buckled underneath her. Your eyes don't lie. In addition to the arrhythmia and leaking heart valve, Hillary suffers from chronic low blood pressure, which would make sense. Blood pressure goes down, you faint, insufficient blood flow, a tendency to form life-threatening blood clots, of which she's had several, and a concussion, and slammed her head, and she's falling all the time at her homes, etc. And troubling side effects from her medications. Now remember, Dr. Drew talked about this, and guess what they did? They just canceled his show. They're like, uh-oh, too much truth getting out here, cancel it. Her doctors have prescribed Coumadin, a blood thinner, and a beta blocker to treat her condition. However, these medications make her very drowsy and tired, which we've all seen. I said, your eyes don't lie. They lower her blood pressure and have led to frequent bouts of lightheadedness and fainting spells. Again, another reason they conveniently have a really nice bed in the van that they outfitted for her, which gets horrible gas mileage, by the way, but she's really going for clean energy. It gets like, what, 16 miles on a gallon or something. I mean, they don't even make the things anymore because it's so inefficient. But again, this is the two-faced liar that also, flies privately and stuff and, burns fossil fuels and then wants to tell us things like, oh, clean energy, that's her game plan. Well, you're two-faced, Hillary. You're a freaking liar. And you obviously have very, very serious health issues. Now, there has even been speculation, and I'll call it that because I do not have concrete evidence. However, there has been, I think, valid speculation in recent weeks, and I've seen this kind of boil to the surface in recent days, that Bill Clinton has HIV. He doesn't like to have protected sex, so he has a lot of unprotected sex. And that would be an explanation for his severe deteriorating health condition. Remember when he lost all that weight and he looked like a skeleton? I mean, again, your eyes don't lie. I don't wish anybody ill health or anything like this, but visually he's looked really, really bad. I mean, even Democratic political operatives that are pushing for the Clintons are like, man, we got to clean this up, man. We got to put some weight on Bill. It also makes you wonder, could that be transferred? Of course, they probably never have intercourse anymore to Hillary. Because it's, just one big facade and a show. It's not really a marriage. It's just a power family. It's a facade. It's an illusion like House of Cards. Frank Underwood. It really is. I mean, even that is propaganda conditioning. By the way, you do realize that, right? That show is propaganda and conditioning you for the Clintons. I mean, that's who Frank and Claire are. Bill and Hillary. It's all social engineering. Very entertaining. I mean, I like the show too, but I'm smart enough to see the propaganda when it's staring at me right in the face. You notice how they depict these people as very, very evil, but it's almost like, the American people are supposed to be okay with it. Like, oh, it's just kind of mafia-style politics. And yeah, Frank, pushes people into oncoming trains, but, so do the Clintons. But I guess it's just what happens in, the dark corners of Washington, D.C. It's good entertainment, though. Thanks, Netflix. Here's an image of the WikiLeaks data dump on Hillary Clinton's very fuel-inefficient, fossil fuel burning, destroying our climate van that gets 16 miles on the gallon that is retrofitted with a bed. Oh, that might be nice. Also, they said it doesn't have a refrigerator, but it has kind of an ice box where she can keep her cottage cheese nice and chilled for her. This is where, and this is from one of the emails WikiLeaks put out on Podesta. It says, oh, and there's a bed. The power sofa, as they're transporting her to Chelsea's apartment, which has been outfitted more than likely as a hospital, which is next door to the hospital that she goes in covertly because she knows the doctors won't speak and that kind of thing. Oh, there's a bed. The power sofa in the rear of the vehicle converts into a bed. How convenient. Hillary, take a nap. Lay down. We know you've been on your feet for just roughly an hour and very sublime, easygoing weather in New York on the September 11th anniversary. We lay down. Don't faint on us. Even though, according to what I just reported to you, guarding Hillary's health, that she has alleged heart condition, leaky valve, arrhythmia, irregular heartbeat, low blood pressure. She's on Coumadin, all these types of medications, which again, make her lightheaded, dizzy, all these kinds of things, which would be a very reasonable explanation for the collapses. I mean, it's like the mainstream media's completely moved away from this. They're not even questioning that anymore, when they should be. Like, can she handle the toughest, most stressful, most demanding job in the world, which makes up the professional teleprompter reader, propagandist, and thief? As President of the United States, it really works for the puppet masters that they control. I mean, I've argued for so many months now that Donald Trump is far more dangerous if he loses this election. Just like Bill Maher did an interview with, I believe his name is Fareed Zakaria, where he basically says that Trump is building an army. Could be the next Che Guevara, revolutionary type figure. And he asked the question, he says he's nervous about it, paraphrasing a bit, what will Donald Trump do with that army? I wanted to play you that clip, and I'm not going to because the Ministry of Truth and the Google fact checker scam system will just censor it and shut down this video, and then they'll just delete it, demonetize it. I mean, there's so many levels of attack now. It's just a joke. You know, I've complained about this for some time, but I mean, you go back to, you know, our thousands of videos in our archives, and over half are demonetized. I mean, they just make it so hard to get the message out there. Just like I pointed out earlier in this piece, you know, even Donald Trump is disadvantaged to the Hillary Clinton machine. Can you imagine what a grassroots organizations like ours and others like us are facing? I mean, we are an ant compared to what these evil forces are and their agenda that they're pushing. The only thing we really have on our side is you and the truth, which I believe will prevail and does prevail, that light overcomes darkness. I'm going to get into a special report later today, exclusively for on-demand subscribers, those of you that actually do help us shine that light with actions. Again, actions speak louder than words. We're doing our part here at AMTV, myself and our small crew. But actions speak louder than words. Price of a cup of coffee, folks, $4.95 a month and or $49.95 a year, supports our entire infrastructure and helps us go to war with the mainstream media. Google, Facecrook, Uscrew, establishment politics, the rigged system. But it's up to you. All it takes is a click of that link below, start your free 14-day trial, and join us. Join the thought criminals. Join the underground. Join the revolutionaries. Make friends, make enemies. It's an amazing discussion in an amazing community that we're building. But we do need your help. I'm going to save a special report on Syria, something that I've been speaking to for years, before Obama was ever shelling the country. Not because I'm a rocket scientist or I have a crystal ball, but I can read through in between the lines of the Ministry of Truth propaganda narrative that makes up the Clinton News Network and others like it, even Fox News, Faux News, MSNBC. I can see through and wade through right through the baloney, just like many of you can. This is a red alert, folks. This is an emergency, and I'm not the only one blaring the siren right now. Hillary's no-fly zone in Syria will start a very, very deadly war, which will look much like World War II, with, in my humble opinion, the same casualty count, or worse. Thermonuclear war. This isn't BS. It's reality. Even Jill Stein came out a few days ago, and we'll probably run this clip in the subsequent report, or you can go look it up right now and Google, said something to the effect that she's not going to sleep well at night. This is Jill Stein from the Green Party, because she fears a nuclear holocaust. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but nuclear war as a result of Hillary Clinton emerging as the next commander in chief to continue Barack Obama's agenda. Our own generals are telling us, folks, that there will be a war. That a no-fly zone, these are not my words, constitutes a war with Russia and China. Let that sit in for a minute. This is not crystal ball reading. This is just reading between the lines of a very dangerous narrative being put out by the Barack Obama administration as he closes shop and hands off to Hillary rotten Clinton. They have one primary objective, and that is to destroy the support and campaign of Donald Trump. Subscribe to get that video right now. Start your free trial. It's free. You don't like it? Get the heck out of here. Don't support us. Julian Assange, under extreme pressure. I'll be reporting on all that and more. Stay tuned. I'm Christopher Greene. Thank you for your tremendous support. Thank you to all of you that support us on demand directly. Thank you for supporting our sponsors. I am truly humbled by it. They keep this show operating so that we can do what we need to do to shine the light of truth to the world. Please check out our sponsor, PointZeroEnergy.com. Click that link below. I talk about all the time. What would you do if the lights turn off? If the internet's not just shut down for Julian Assange, but you? Electricity goes out. God forbid there's an EMP. A bomb goes off. Again, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Do you have backup power? Solar backup power, importantly, so it takes the energy from the sun. Click the link below. Visit our sponsor, Point Zero Energy, right now. I've got a special link where you can get free information from our friends, David and Sherry, real people. They're not going to send you over to India when you call them up. They've got a phone number on their website. The system I personally like is the HomeGrid 5000 HD. I think it's a perfect fit for your typical family. You know, yourself, you're married, 4 or 5 person family, a great backup system. Runs all of your household appliances, from your refrigerator to your microwave. I mean, all your essentials in the event something like this goes down. In the next video, I'll be getting into gruesome detail on. Thank you for your support. I'm Christopher Greene. Get it out everywhere. Make it viral. Thank you so much. Hard hitting it in your face. Peace. Pre-commitment 2, Ecuador, with a string of characters. Pre-commitment 3, with the string of characters. People are like, what is this? Is this the dead man's switch? Now, Gizmodo noted that the 64-character code sparked a whirlwind of rumors that the 45-year-old Assange had died. Rumors on Reddit and Twitter said the numbers triggered a so-called dead man's switch, which could be enacted in case Assange did die. Gizmodo reported that such switches do exist. Now, WikiLeaks hasn't tweeted anything else about Assange's internet access or how it may have been severed. At this point, we could only think, which I think there's probably more than likely some truth to this, that the state actor that they're talking about is either Hillary Clinton and her campaign that doesn't want subsequent damaging information to be leaked on her. I mean, we saw what Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, the Truth Teller organization, did to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and only prove that the Democratic Party is rigged. We can only imagine what he has up his sleeve now. And of course, as I've said many times before, thank you for tuning in on YouTube, Facebook, and also our on-demand subscriber. WikiLeaks has very damning and damaging information coming out on Hillary Clinton and her campaign as we build up to this historical election, unlike anything that we have ever seen in the history of not just America and the world. So we know that Julian Assange has the goods. So there would be motive to take him out. A lot of people jumping to conclusions. Is he dead? Again, a series of cryptic tweets are put out to the general public from the WikiLeaks Twitter account. And this kind of snowballs into speculation and conspiracy. Our sources tell us that Julian Assange is still alive. However, his internet has been shut down, according to the mainstream bullshit media, by a state party like Hillary Clinton, for example, pretty much runs the country already. I mean, she's not even president of the United States, and she has far more power than any other single individual in the world, arguably. WikiLeaks says Assange's internet link was severed by a state party, which would mean like a country or Hillary Clinton that just doesn't, where you get all of our content completely added, commercial-free, uncensored, the price of a cup of coffee, $4.95 a month. Click the Start Your Free Trial button below if you haven't already. This wouldn't be surprising because, again, we know that timing is everything. And Julian Assange has more, as he's told us and made us all aware, more damaging information on Clinton and her campaign that will make the previous leaks pale in comparison. So what better way to shut him up than to shut down his internet? But as we just reported, contingency plans have been put in place. Let's go to a brief clip. This is when this was breaking. This was the information put out by RT on this quote-unquote internet shutdown. Let's go to that now.
The WikiLeaks chief, Julian Assange, has been severed from his key lifeline of the internet in what is being called an intentional state act. That is according to a post on the organization's official Twitter page. The web is one of the links Assange has to the wider world, considering he's been holed up.
Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Greene. You're watching AMTV, Alternative Media Television Live. Of course, it is Monday, October 17th, 2016. Julian Assange internet shut down. Impossible suicide, or suicided. As mysteriously, many of these figures just wind up dead that have the dirt on Hillary, rotten, criminal, Benghazi Gate Clinton. Clinton body count, you search it on Google, although they censor it, just the body bags just keep piling up. One of our producers even said, what was it, Scott Baio? Said something along those lines not too long ago, just said, yeah, you know, I wouldn't want to speak out against the Clintons because I might wind up dead. So over the weekend, a series of cryptic tweets are put out by WikiLeaks, and some assume that maybe something, and I would suggest rightfully so, because we don't want damaging information leaked out on her campaign weeks. Just a few short weeks as we approach November 8th and the election of our lifetimes. WikiLeaks said Monday that its founder Julian Assange's internet link was severed by a state party and that appropriate contingency plans had been activated. Julian Assange internet link has been intentionally severed by a state party. We have activated the appropriate contingency plans. And then what many had speculated could be, in fact, the dead man's switch that many of you are familiar with. If anything happens to Julian Assange, it doesn't matter, because the truth will still be leaked out via an algorithm and the infrastructure set up by WikiLeaks. So it doesn't matter if he's dead or alive. But this is what made a lot of people nervous over the weekend, as a series of tweets came out right around the time there was an internet shutdown by a state party and a visit by Pamela Anderson. I'll get to that in a minute. Very, very strange, by the way. A series of tweets that came out, pre-commitment one, John Kerry, with like a string of characters.